This is Manny Cabrera. The channel is live from the capsule, and we're here today with another live stream. Thank you, everybody, for checking in. I'm just coming off of a little nap. I know that sounds funny, but I worked out pretty hard this morning, man. That was like my first big thing to get done today. I wanted to get in the gym and I wanted to get a little bit of sauna work going. On my days off are the days that I kind of have that I don't go to the tattoo shop, or the days that I have enough time to go to the gym and kind of not be under the gun for like many minutes I have before I have to kind of get out of here and do like the real life stuff. And I like to sit in the sauna for a little bit. It's a little bit tough for me, but that's the whole point. That's the whole point. It's not hard. It's just new. And that's part of the message I'm trying to relay today in today's live, is that a lot of things aren't hard. They're just new to you, you know? So when things are new to you, you're kind of figuring them out. You don't have all the details and how things should work and where the mistakes are going to be. You kind of have to find that out. You got to travel that trail. There are a lot of things that you can learn through someone else. But I think a lot of things as far as like stacking skills, health, fuel consumption, what you eat and things like that, you're just kind of gonna learn through trial and error, because what works for someone else may not work for you. You just have to find the solutions to your problems. You have to look at yourself, self-reflect, be self-aware of who you are and what actually makes you happy and what are the goals that you're trying to achieve, and set a path in that direction. And we were talking about that yesterday as far as like AI and how this is like this computer-based new, it's a digital brain is basically what it is. You know, we have a biological brain and that's a digital brain. Use it, use ChatGPT, ask Google, ask Facebook. AI is all integrated in all of these things, and it'll give you the solutions, the setup, the guideline to do the things that you want to do. And like I said, it's not hard, it's just new. And that's another thing, that it's not hard, it's just new. A lot of people are still going to Google, or still, even though I don't really know that many people that are doing that. Everybody that I speak to, for the most part, uses ChatGPT, even though there are an infinite amount of models now out there that you can use. Gemini, Claude, Grok, ChatGPT is just one of them, but it's integrated in all the social medias, even Snapchat. Yesterday, I haven't been on Snapchat in forever. What's going on? What's going on? Falcon Reacts, thank you very much. I appreciate you, man. If you like what I'm spitting, stay in the chat, stay on the live, and like, comment, and subscribe. I appreciate you, and it helps the algorithm. It helps my video get out to more people. That's just something that you got to do. And like, health is wealth. For me, health is wealth. I've found that there's a lot of times in my life that I've accomplished a lot of things, in the other people's perception, and I guess like in a real world sense, where like, I've had children, I've got married, I've purchased properties, I've gone on vacations and stuff like that. And if I wasn't in good health at the time, and what I mean when I say good health for me particularly, is that I'm like working out, at a good chunk. I'm eating, I'm sleeping. Those are the things that are really important to me, and it shows, because there's a lot of things that I've achieved, and I've never really like sat back and be like, man, that was pretty cool. But it was because I wasn't in the right mind state. For me, health is wealth. I like to feel like I'm still moving this body that was gifted to me. I want to feel like I'm taking care of it. Am I Christian? I believe in Jesus Christ. I believe that there's a higher power. I've never been baptized, so I don't know if that would consider me Christian. But I'm not opposed to going to church, and I feel like it does a lot of good, for most people. Why does everybody does? That's like a couple of people already asking me the same kind of thing. I don't know if that's a thing, but and a lot of the ways that I've come to the conclusions on how I feel, how I do things, and I haven't come to the end of that path yet, is that I read and reflect. I like to read things, watch videos, and or speak to people, and then later on I'll like self-reflect. I'll go and I'll write about it, and I'll see that when I do that, a lot of it locks in. ends up like almost creating a channel way in my brain for me to be able to remember that, as opposed to when I read something or I see something and then I never resonate and reflect on that. Someone else can ask me later and be like, hey, what was that about? And I don't fucking remember. You know what I mean? I never let it actually sink in. And we were talking about that yesterday, actually on the live as well. What's going on, Kaylee? You don't have to be baptized only in the Holy Spirit. So I guess I am. We were talking about that yesterday, about just life is so fast nowadays. Life is so fast. You have to make that time to rest, to reflect, to actually pour into yourself, because most of the things and like I said, a lot of it I think is by design. And I don't even live in like a major city, like a busy city. I grew up in the Northeast, Lawrence, Massachusetts, which is like a small metropolis, very fast paced. I used to frequent a lot of the Northeast. I've lived in New Haven, Connecticut. I used to go to Williamsburg, Brooklyn, New York City, many years, all the summers growing up. So I know what busy is. And I could imagine if you live in those areas, shit, man, if you're not making a conscious effort to like take some time out of the day to think, you're not. Because as soon as you wake up, man, even when you're sleeping, there's noise and shit going on outside. When you're up, the world is moving, dude. You better put your fucking runners on. So I think that's very important for me, the reading, the reflecting, and the rest, and that allows you to look at yourself from like a different vantage point. It's good to be so you live in God, show dedication, Christian, not to be baptized. Thank you. I appreciate everybody that's checking in. It really spiked really quickly. I don't know if it's because of the time of day, but we're about 6 minutes deep. I usually go about 30 minutes or so. That's about the time that I'm comfortable with, where I feel like I can talk about several subject matters and not kind of talk in circles. I've imagined that over time, I will get a little bit better at this. And talk about other different types of subjects that maybe some of you people are interested in. Some of my listeners or people that are chiming in. Right now, it's just all coming off the cuff. I take a few notes and things like that throughout the day and kind of things I want to talk about. Most of it is art and how it relates back to everything else and how I use it as a channel to kind of break down other problems and find solutions within my life. And I use the art to do that. I found a way. I feel like a lot of that shit is, sorry that I cursed, a lot of that is, it all kind of comes full circle, man. If you really think about things, nothing is new under the sun. It's just new to you, and when you rest, man, you can see the wins, or you can start to put in place all the things you want to do. And then when you look back, you see the wins, if you focus on them, like, whatever that is. But it's, for me, it's like wake up early, read, work out, study a little bit of art, be good to my family. I try to reach out to someone else every day, whether it be people from my family, whether it be friends, whether it be people online. I just make a conscious effort to do that, because I understand that if I don't, a lot of people aren't thinking like me, and a lot of people are really busy. And I can go, I said this yesterday, I'm the youngest of 6. And if I don't call my siblings, they're not going to call me. And we all live relatively close. We all grew up together. We all grew up under the same household. We had a mother and father that stayed together, till my father passed, rest in peace. So we didn't come from a broken household or anything like that. But we're just, I guess the way we were raised or the way we were taught, we're not like super hyper close like that. But it's not that we have any issues with each other. We're not beefing. It's none of my brothers that I dislike or anything like that. But if I don't give them a call, we're just not going to talk until our next family event. So I make sure to kind of do that. I chime in on my clients from time to time. Hey, how's that tattoo doing? How did it all heal? How's your life been? How's the new year? Things like that. Those are important to me, because I know that sometimes I'm not, I'll lose contact with somebody, or, it all kind of falls through the grapevine. And later on, that person will reach out to me, and man, it hits. And I'm like, damn, it brings back all the memories and all the things. And, that's what life's about, I guess, the experiences, all the accolades and everything that you acquire along the way. So that's just part of what I do. And yeah, that's that. But today's topic more than anything is like, it's not hard, it's just new to you. So I spoke about that yesterday, and I think when I was speaking about it yesterday, my phone was going off and I had the watch on, and it muted the audio, so you can hear me, and I'm like boom boom, you see me pointing, but I never got the message across. But when and I've been doing this for a long time. I remember when I was like 16, 17 years old, I had a couple of buddies that I went to the vocational high school with, and I was like, low key hater envious, because these cats used to work out and they were ripped and jacked. And I used to try to work out with them, you know what I mean? So it's not like the first time. My brother had the encyclopedia of bodybuilding by Arnold Schwarzenegger since forever, So it's always been kind of a part of my life. I've always integrated that to some degree, but it was always hard. It was always hard. I never really got into that groove of like, and all I think, if I'm being honest, you can go back in my history and ask anybody that I've ever been associated with. They'll know me to have, to some degree, worked out at one point or another. In my life, how like I'll be going to the gym, or go play basketball or play handball. I used to play a lot of handball as a kid. But it never really stuck. Like, it never really clicked. It never really became like part of my life until, I would say, recently, man, a couple of years maybe. A couple of years ago, for some reason, that switch just bang, and it was just like, bro, like, if you don't get after this now, the price that you will pay later in life is going to be so high that it won't be worth it. It won't be worth it. And I think of that. I think of, when I'm paying for something, you're either going to pay with time or money, or both. Do you know what I mean? So I look at that and I see a lot of folks, and I just look around me. I wouldn't say that I'm judgmental, but I definitely make decisions based around those that are around me. I don't really try to look too far off. I'm not looking at, even though I am influenced and I am online, but I'm not really looking at people that aren't in my life, or people that I don't see daily, because to me that makes it real. I understand that on the internet, there's a lot of facade going on. There's a lot of guys that look like they're rich, they're not rich. There's a lot of guys that look like they're happy, they're not happy. There's a lot of guys that look like they're being progressive in intent and being successful in their career, and they're not. They're struggling. So, and who am I to say? I don't know what that is, but I know what I see when I see it in real life. You know what I mean? I can walk by somebody and feel the energy and feel like, man, that guy's actually happy. That guy had like a little pep in his step. That guy actually said hi to me. And then I can see the guys that, yeah, they pull up in a really dope car, but when they pull out, I wouldn't be happy if I was you, and I wouldn't trade places with you. And that's just me. You know what I mean? And it's just me picking up the energy and picking up where they are in life. And because of that, I feel like health is one of those things that you should take care of. Um, and nobody's perfect. Everybody has their vices. Everybody kind of has their day to day, and I know it's probably unrealistic for a lot of people to, like, oh, put in an hour a day to work out or whatever the case may be. But it's all what's important to you. There's plenty of guys that I know that don't work out, don't do anything else, but they smoke weed and play video games for 3 to 4 hours a day. That's important to them. So, and I'm not judging them by any means, but at some point or another, there's a saying that my mom says a lot. She says, life has this funny way of like giving you receipts, gives you receipts for everything that you've done. Do you know what I mean? There's not going to be that many people that are going to be able to override that and do a whole bunch of shitty things, eat a whole bunch of shitty foods, sleep really shitty, do a whole bunch of drugs, and then like they're in top health. That's very rare. Do you know what I mean? Do you want to be the exception? You want to take that chance? And I'm not saying that I can't get sick, or that people that work out don't get sick, or people that don't eat clean don't get sick, or people that don't take care of themselves don't get sick. But you are managing, you are trying to mediate that. You are trying to, put things on your side of the fence, put things in your favor, manage the risk, as they would say in trading. But going back to the, it's not hard, it's just new, So the taking care of yourself, the reading, the reflection, the rest, the stacking the wins. is going to be your friend, I think, and especially I find in for myself and in the receipts for sure. The eyes never lie, Chico. They don't. They don't. You gotta look at people, man, and like actually have a conversation with them and see that everybody that you think is actually happy, like from the outside, when you go to speak to them, bro, it's complaint city. Motherfuckers are complaining all day long about all their issues and about how life's so shitty, and you're just like, what the fuck are you talking about? But I guess your perspective is your life. And that's all I can say. How you see things is how you're going to feel, and then how you deal with that is ultimately who you're going to be. A lot of people, to get rid of the stress, they drown themselves in wine because they don't want to think about it. But then when they wake up, the problem's still there. So then they feel even more like shit because they're like, man, I never even thought about the problem, never even fixed the problem, never even resonated with the solution. I just stacked the loss, and maybe they don't feel that way, but when I did that, when I used to do that, when I used to be the guy that'd be like, oh, I got to do this, but instead I'm gonna go out with my buddy and stay out till 3 in the morning, and then wake up tomorrow and be all pissed because I didn't do the stuff I was supposed to do. I felt like shit, and I had nobody to blame but myself. There was nobody, there was no fingers to point. And it's like a childish saying, like, when you point fingers, you have like four pointed back at yourself. And that shit is true, man. There is a lot of things that are out of your control, but more than that, there's tons of stuff that's in your control that's going to push you in the right direction and going to make you proud of yourself. And that's where confidence comes in. Well, I was having this conversation with somebody else. I did a tattoo on this young lady earlier in the week, I want to say, and it's getting a little warm. It's getting a little warm in here. DY2784. I appreciate you. You always chiming in on my stuff. I don't know who you are, but thank you so much. I'm gonna hit this fan. I feel like I'm a little warm. So there's yeah, for sure. Yeah, sometimes you have no choice because it's just it's you're kind of dealing with these folks or whatever, but you have to see it for what it is. You got to see it for what it is and say, like, you always want to see who you want to be and who you don't want to be. That's important because people will shoot at what they want to be, but then they're not looking at everything that they should avoid to get there. But you got to know what your goals are. You have to be self-aware to know what actually makes you happy, and not try to do things to make others happy, because more often than not, at least for me, I was talking about like how making my kids happy makes me really happy, but that's just true though. Like that's not a lie. When I see my kids really happy and I see them achieving shit, that shit really makes me happy. So what do? I try to put myself in a position to give them access to that. So then I could get that in retribution. It's kind of selfish, but that's how I live my life, man. I don't know what to tell you, man. You got to find a solution to your problems and find out what makes you happy. So and the self-reflection comes with writing things down. A lot of people use use notes in their phone to put things into, just so they can see it, so they can get a visual. I find that when I write with a pencil, when I draw with a pencil, it's just more muscle memory for me. And maybe because I come from that era that I used to have to do that. So that's kind of how I learned. I was speaking to somebody about that the other day, that they're like, I'm a visual learner. And I'm not taking anything away from that because I find that I'm a visual learner as well. But like, if I read and write about it, so it's like if I read and take a test about it, like kind of like we learned in school, right? Or if I write it down, or if I'm drawing it with my hand, I can almost find the defects in it, and I'm just the vessel. I have the idea, the information is out there, how to draw this is out there, all the dimensions, but it's like the vessel, there's a miscommunication going on, and I have to find out what it is exactly that's happening there. Do I need to know more about this? Do I need to approach this in a different way? And to be honest with you guys, that's one of the things that I'm seeing that AI is being very helpful with. Is being very helpful with not knowing things. The guy Gary Vaynerchuk, a lot of people know him. He's a very motivational speaker. He's super big on social media, built a whole bunch of businesses, runs a whole bunch of businesses. He's a big preacher of that. He's a big preacher of the self-awareness. He's a big preacher of like, you got to find what makes you happy. You got to find the solutions to your own problems. Stop looking at everybody else. But he's the guy that he said that the other day, and it was like everybody was like, and I don't know what interview it was or whatever, but he was like, hey, the minute that I know that I have to fire somebody is when I ask them something and they tell me I don't know, because the answer's illegitimate anymore. We have the ChatGPT. ChatGPT will tell you exactly how to do it. AI will tell you exactly how to do it. And even if it won't, for whatever reason, because sometimes it'll throw some crappy answer at you, like it can't do that because of copyright infringement, or part of its data or something. Sometimes it'll give you like a reason why it can't give you that answer. There's still other mediums. There's still other ways to find that. And there was a time where I remember I was really big into dogs when I was really young. And I've always kind of had dogs. Right now is one of those times in my life where I haven't had a dog in a while, but I've always had dogs. And I used to have to go to the library. I had to go to the library. I used to live in Lawrence, Massachusetts. My parents would drop me off at the library. I would go upstairs. I would look for the encyclopedias and write down all the shit. You know what I mean? So I had to like make this super conscious effort to be like, hey, I want to go and learn about this. And I would go there and take my free time where like my boys were out playing and running and shit. But that's because I really liked that. So that to me wasn't nerdy. To me, that wasn't hard work, because I really enjoyed learning about that. And then like, I remember I had a red pit. My brother gave it to me, Carlos. A cop gave it to him. If I remember the story correctly, the cop gave it to him and then he gave it to me. He was beautiful, dude. He was like red. It was red. The dog was like red. And his eyes were the same color, and his nose, and he was red nose, so his nose was the same color. His ears were cropped. He was a beautiful dog. And I remember that I would walk around. We had a reservoir right around our house, and I used to walk that dog, and people used to be like, "Whoa, man, that dog crazy." And then as a kid, dog, I was 10. And I would drop them gems, like boom, this bloodline is this, and these guys come from this, and the reason why we got these dogs, here in the Northeast is because they were brought in on these boats and immigrated, and then they fought these dogs, and people would be like, "What the hell is up with this guy?" And that shit was sick to me, that I could be the source, I could be the North Star. So then people would be like, "Oh, the kid with the red pit, he knows." He knows, you know what I mean? And that was dope. That was dope. That was a great time in my life, dude. I swear to God, there's times when I was young that even now, that shit kind of like almost made my fucking eyes water. Because those were like true moments that I can see where I enjoyed something and I excelled at it because I really enjoyed it. And me putting in the effort was nothing. It was nothing because I actually enjoyed it. So it really goes back to this, really, really enjoying what you do, really finding yourself and really putting yourself in a position to win. And like we were talking about earlier, the crutches, look at them. What are you running from? Those are the questions, the honest questions that you have to look at yourself and ask when you know that you're using things as crutches to not do the things you're supposed to do. And not saying that everybody has that, but I know I have, and I know I do. And I know when, I came from the gym, right? Today I came from the gym and I was exhausted, big dog. I really went hard in the gym, and then I hit that sauna, and then what I'm doing is, instead of watching the clock, like you go in the sauna, right? And there's like a clock there. And then you find yourself and you see everybody does it. They watch the clock. They're watching because they want to fucking get out of there. Nobody wants to hang out in the sauna, right? So I try to shoot for like 15 minutes or so. So what I do is I put in a 15-minute audio, on my phone, and usually it's like 16 or 17 minutes. I try to find that video like within that sweet spot, and I put it in, and I go in there and I close my fucking eyes, dog. And when the video's done, I'm done. You know what I mean? When the video's done, I'm done. That means I've been in there ballpark about 15 minutes. But I was tired. When I got home, I was tired. And the first thing I did when I walked in, and I had this planned already. I wanted to come in. I wanted to shoot another live. I got really, really good response. I had people call me yesterday. I spoke to somebody that is my day one. And they really got something out of that video. They were like, yo, bro, you're doing it. You know what I mean? Like what you're saying and what you're doing, I can see you. I know that that's you, and that's what makes it even better because I'm not putting on a persona. I'm being exactly who I am, and I'm just trying to relay the messages as I can, because I know that how I got here is because I got that from someone else. Someone else put their knowledge in my ear. Someone else motivated me to learn new things. Someone else motivated me to be a better husband, to be a better a tattooer, a better artist. Someone motivated me. That wasn't an idea that came out from my head. It's not hard. It's just new, and this is one of those things where this is new to me. I never, he was telling me, he was like, my boy was telling me, he's like, yo, bro, it's like you're journaling in real time. You know what I'm saying? And it's true. That's exactly what I'm doing. I'm just spitballing. I take a couple of notes and then I go to town and I talk about stuff. A lot of people do this type of content and they're like doing reaction videos to like things that are happening, and they're doing kind of the same thing, but I'm not really reacting to anything. I'm just, trying to I don't know. I don't know what I'm trying to do. This channel started with me just trying to draw, and that kind of kept me accountable. There's like, okay, if I build this channel around drawing, then I'd have to draw consistently to make the channel pump. And I'm still doing that, and I'm still learning. And yesterday was one of those things where I went down that little rabbit hole where I like learned something new, right? Or I'm trying to learn something new. I was watching a couple of videos on CES, which is like the yearly tech convention in Las Vegas, and that was just because those are things that I want to learn about, and maybe regurgitate a little bit of that on here. But uh but then I realized, somewhere down the line, and this is all new stuff that's coming to me, that like the only reason that I'm able to achieve the things that I can achieve and or be the person that I am is because of the mindset. You know what I mean? I've always liked to draw. I've always, when I found tattooing, I always knew that I wanted to tattoo. Like I said, I grew up in a two parent household, so I kind of knew that I kind of always wanted to get married and have kids and have that like a standard life. But that was all like subconscious, I believe. And now I'm consciously making a lot of decisions in my life that are going to build the life that I'm trying to live. And me journaling live is going to give me some type of reflection as well, because I listen to these back myself and see kind of where I was just talking nonsense and where maybe I was making a point, where maybe I can reiterate and re-emphasize all that stuff in myself. You know what I mean? Because when I'm speaking, I'm not really speaking to you. I'm really speaking to me. It just happens to be that I'm on camera. But in a lot of I wouldn't say that I'm 100% confident at all. I'm just like every other folks that I doubt myself in a lot of ways. There's a lot of things that I feel like are shortcomings in my life. But how I've been able to build a little bit of confidence or a little bit of I guess respect for myself is like keeping my word to myself. When I say I'm going to do something, do it. Whether I want to or not, I already said I was. So at that point, I was obviously thinking of something. And if I said that, more often than not, it's something that's going to bring something back to me. I don't just say like, oh yeah, I'm going to, I don't know, whatever. Like, my daughter's a very, very big reason of why this is starting to stick a lot with me, about like keeping the word to myself, because she's gonna be the first one to call me on it. If I tell her like, hey, the other day she was listening to a song, I guess it's the new Zootopia soundtrack. Zootopia, is that anybody out there know what I'm talking about? It's like a movie, I guess. And I was like, oh, that's cool. Boom, boom. And she's like, hey, I want to go to the movies. And I'm like, hey, we'll go Saturday. We'll go Saturday evening because, that day is a little bit lackadaisical, and I'm not going to work all day and be all tired and stuff like that. Hey, if I don't take her on Saturday, she'll be the first one to call me on it. She'll be the first one to be like, hey, it's Saturday. I thought you said we were going to go, But I could see in myself, if I'm going down that rabbit hole and going down memory lane, where there's plenty of times in my life where I said, like, oh, I'm gonna do this, or I'm gonna do that, or yo, you're gonna see this, and I'm gonna do shit. You know what I mean? And maybe I don't like feel bad about it, but like subconsciously, I think that shit plays off in you, bro. I think it does. I think it eats away at your self confidence because your brain knows that you ain't doing shit, so you just making noise. I don't know. I couldn't tell you, above my pay grade, I guess. But I know that the more times that I say that I'm gonna do something and I do it, and then I start to see the wins stacking across all the things that I'm trying to do and move in the right direction, I can look at myself and not say, nigga, you're a piece of shit. I can say, you're doing what you said you were gonna do. And if things work out, great. If things don't work out, at least you did what you said you were gonna do. And that's just it. And once again, the message for this video was like, it's not hard, it's just new. So anything that you're trying to accomplish out there, everybody that's chiming in the chat, I really appreciate you guys. If you guys like the topic so far on these lives, if you like any of the drawings and any of my other past content, feel free to like, comment, and subscribe. It gets my content out to more people, which gives me a battery in my back and makes me want to continue to do this. But start today. Start today. That's my only message for anybody. If there's anything that you're looking to do, start today. Keep a word to yourself. Do it for a while and see how things get easier. Read, reflect, look at yourself from third person. Speak to the people you love. Do the things that you like so you can excel and it doesn't feel like work. I appreciate you guys very much. I usually try to stay on here for about 30 minutes. We're about 31 minutes in. Look out for a 500 or bust later on in the day. Appreciate you guys very much. Like, comment, and subscribe. It's Manny Carrera from The Capsule. Peace.